Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Mr. Dmitry Medvedev, the former president of the Russian Federation, is at it again. He says something that many Russians agree with, including Putin, obviously, and that is Odessa and Kiev are Russian, and they intend to get them back. That's the bad news. Now, you might think that, when you negotiate and when you're about to do something, you should further. So when you negotiate, you have room to come back. So let's say I want to get your car. I will say that everything you got is mine. So that's the long shot. But when I gonna mention I want only your car, that's further back. It's not that much as everything. I shouldn't take anything from you unless I really think you owe me everything. Everything you got is mine. And I think the Russians really think that way, some Russians. Putin also said it in an interview with Tucker Carlson when he said that actually these guys, the Ukrainians, are just Russians who were influenced with Polish influence. That's all they are. So, and also he said about just Poland came and took over and then went back. But that's actually Russian people. So let me show you here two articles. One coming from the Ukrainska Pravda, from the Ukrainian media outlet, and the other one coming from Russia Today, about Mr. Medvedev saying, actually, those things are ours. This is not the first time he said that, by the way. That tells me that they want to get him back. Ukrainska Pravda. Russia's former president claims Russia will take Kiev, and that the conquest of Odessa has long been desired in Russia. Here's the guy. All right, so let's go to the Russian article, and I'm going to show you where Kiev and Odessa are, so we make sure that we know where are we going to go from here. So here is Ukraine, and Kiev is right here. Odessa is straight down here. So if these things were Russian, that makes us think that they will own this. So they want the whole thing here then. I know this is Poland right here. Ask the Poles and they will tell you. Ask the Hungarians and they will tell you this is Hungarian. Ask the Romanians about this and they will tell them that's Ukrainian. All right, so now that we know what we're talking about here, Kiev and Odessa are ours, Medvedev. Straight to the point. Moscow must capture the Ukrainian capital sooner or later, the former president has claimed. Russia will have to continue fighting Ukraine until it takes Kiev and the coastal city of Odessa, Medvedev has claimed. Both cities have Russian roots, but are being run by US-led enemies of Moscow, meaning they present an existential threat, according to the senior official who currently serves as deputy head of Russia's National Security Council. The remarks were extracted from an interview that Medvedev gave to Russian media, which he shared on social media on Thursday. And I'm quoting, "Where should we stop? I don't know." That's a good way of putting things in perspective. I don't know. In Washington, D.C. He said, adding that a lot of serious work lies ahead. And I'm quoting, will that be Kiev? Probably, not possibly, probably. This should be Kiev too. If not now, then sometime later. There are two reasons Kiev is a Russian city and a threat to the existence of the Russian Federation emanates from it, he says. So, got it? In a separate video, Medvedev addressed the southern Ukrainian port of Odessa, urging it to return home. Come on home, come back home, return to me. And I'm quoting, "We, in the Russian Federation, have long been waiting for Odessa, if only because of its history and what kind of people live there and what language they speak. It is our Russian city," end quote, he claimed. In May 2014, 42 pro-Russian supporters were burned to death in Odessa, a predominantly Russian-speaking city having been trapped by a mob that supported the Western-backed protests in Kiev that would later overthrow the democratically elected legitimate government of Ukraine. Medvedev identified the source of the threat to the existence of Russia as an international brigade of the opponents of Russia led by the US, and quote, who he claimed are in control of Kiev. Russian propaganda. So, what are the implications? Show must go on. Queen? All right, that's what's going to be. The show must go on. So I think the Russians are saying, you know, if you really think about it, those should be ours. The problem is, he says, not the problem, but he says that Kiev actually is ours. He says here, will that be Kiev? Probably. This should be Kiev too. If not now, then sometime later. He says first Kiev is a Russian city, and then is a threat emanating from Kiev. From Kiev being the vassal location of those specific interests. So, well, if you go like this, I don't know, maybe the Poles can claim parts of, I don't know, maybe the Germans can claim parts of Poland too, right? Like, I don't know, Danzig. Anyway, that's not for me to go into that one right here. The point is, we'll see. We'll see. I think he's just playing like that, so he has room to negotiate when time comes. Like he's going to do these guys a favor. Hey, you know what? We're going to take only this. We can take all that, but we're going to take only this one. How will the West react? Like West. I shouldn't talk like that. It's not the West. They're the guys in charge of the West. And we are part of the West, but not the guys in charge of ourselves. They are in charge. So those guys will react again with a hysteria and will tell us that Putin will not stop and Putin will do this and Putin will do that. Well, maybe not. Maybe he's going to stop. But keep pushing and the Russians will meet you halfway. That's the whole thing. These guys think in their, the owners, they thought in their narcissistic, I don't know, deluded brains that Russia cannot hurt them. They dealt with small countries, you know, with invasion and so on. They invade Russia. They're afraid to do that because they get smacked, obviously, and those guys have nuclear weapons. So let's say if they don't get smacked that bad, the Russians can always say, you know what, cut the crap. This is the end of it, and these guys will back off. Just like this. I explained why, and the main reason is just to make it like this, is because they have more to lose than the Russians. I'm talking about the establishment, not the Russian people, but the establishment. Imagine poverty. A guy closer to poverty is just right there. Doesn't have a lot to lose. But a guy who's right here, being in charge of the planet, having family connections, having all kind of historical connections. Like take the queens and kings. Let's take the British crown. Do you think they want the world to end because of Ukraine? They will make peace with Russia just right now. I mean, they worked all this time to have this planet by the balls. To do what? To be blown up by some idiots? No, they're not going to do that. The same thing with the guys in Washington, D.C. and other locations in the United States of America, New York and so on. Do you think they want that? Well, I can tell you one group, imbecilic as it is, that would crave for such a situation. Those guys who are waiting for Armageddon. Those guys are talking in their places about the end of the world. The signs are here. The wind blows stronger today than yesterday. There's more hurricanes than 200 years ago, because 200 years ago we measured all of them. So now, obviously, there are more that we know of. So I've been in these things as an observational, educational. I wanted to learn. So I went and I saw. I said, "The end of the world. What these guys are talking about?" You see. This is interesting. Since we have phones, and we can record shit, and we can take pictures, no more wonders occurring. Or, you know, it was a wonder, man, miracles. No more miracles, man. So it's like very much a decrease of, I don't know, some statue crying or have menstruating or something. Nope. No. Why? I don't know. Someone decided it's too obvious. All right, my friends, here it is. The Russians are talking like this because, only Medvedev talks like this. Why? He was activated, I think, to do that. To keep these guys like, oh, look what Medvedev said. God, these guys are crazy. You gotta play that card too, sometime. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.